Hi there. 1 or 2 weeks ago, I asked for suggestions for videos, and one of the ones that came up was an under 2.5 goals strategy suggested by Sports Price Analysis, one of the subscribers to the channel. So I'm going to take a look at that today, and so grab yourself a cup of tea and follow along. I haven't actually looked at this yet, so I'm essentially designing this on the fly as you watch it. So if I bring up this little notepad here, this is what the Sports Price Analysis was suggesting. So it's an under 2.5 strategy, looking at under 2.5 between 2 and 3 in odds, where the market volume in the match market is greater than 50k. And then what we do is just before the start of the match, we will back the current 2.5 goals, under 2.5 goals, I should say. And we're actually going to place 4 bets where we set up a back to lay trade. Essentially 4 times is the easiest way to do it. And so the first one will be a back with an offset of 20 ticks. The second will have 40 ticks, and so on. So we're going to base it on £100. We'll put 4 bets into the market at £25 each with the corresponding offsets. And then we need to consider how we're going to green out or trade out if things are going against us. So the fact that we're going to put in 4 bets, you'll think, well, apart from the offset, those bets are actually all going to be the same. And they all need to match the same criteria in that the odds need to be between 2 and 3, and the market volume needs to be greater than 50k in the match market. So rather than specifying those conditions on each of those bets, I'll use my favourite technique of setting up a global conditions rule, and that's where we shall start. So if we set off with the strategy editor, let me just bring that back up again so we can see it, and I'll put it on always on top so it's always there so you can see it okay. Right, new strategy. Let's just rename this. And we'll just call it demo under 2.5. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is add a rule that's going to check our global conditions. Now, our global conditions are going to be, first of all, the market volume in the match market. So this would normally be assigned to the under 2.5 goals market. So we need to look at the market volume, but we need to choose other. Click on the drop down arrow and scroll down this list till we find the match odds. And that must be greater than 50,000. So whenever this rule is assigned to an under over 2.5 goal market, it will also open up the match odds market so that it can check the value of the market volume. In addition to that, we want the select fixed odds option for the under 2.5. Now, the easiest thing to do here is to choose by name, and since we're doing the under and over markets, it's always going to have under 2.5 goals there. So let's just choose under 2.5, and that must be greater than 2. So that's going to be the best back odds as the option to choose greater than 2. And we also need another one, exactly the same item we need to check, but we need to make sure that it's less than 3. Okay, so that's our conditions. Now, you'll have seen me in the past when I've been setting up global conditions like this, that I use for the action, I use the dummy. So it doesn't actually do anything. All it does is check the corresponding conditions. And then we, in subsequent rules, we then check to see if this rule has fired or not. And that confirms that those conditions have been met. And we can go on from there. You don't actually need to do the dummy option. In other words, you don't need to set up conditions and not actually take any actions. You still can take an action. So in this case, I'm going to get it to show the market. Okay, so it's automatically going to show this market when those conditions are met at the time this rule is going to play. So we're going to set up a little window in which this condition or these conditions will be checked. And that will be 30 seconds before the event starts. And it's going to stop 15 seconds before the event starts. So there's a little 15-second window just before kickoff in which these conditions are going to be checked. And if they are true, this rule will, through the show market command, will switch to this market and display it within Fairbot. Okay, so that's our initial rule. So now we need to set up the actual, I should actually give that a name, shouldn't I? Let me just pop in there again and give it a name. Check global conditions and switch to market. We'll just increase that ever so slightly so we can start to see what we've got there. Okay, so the next one is we need to actually start placing the bets. So the first rule that we're going to set up is place first back to lay trade. And that's going to get done 14 seconds before the event starts. The action that we're going to use is place a trade. And we're going to place that trade on the under 2.5 goals. It's going to be back to lay. Initial bet will be the best back odds. The offset will be 20 ticks. So it's 20 ticks that's being suggested for the strategy. We're not going to use smart bets. So when this offset is matched, it will just green up on that particular bet. It won't try and spread it across the market. The amount is going to be a fixed amount, and we're going to be using 25. Keep in mind we're going to do 4 of these for the total stake of £100. We're not going to imply a stop loss. We're not going to do repeat on success, and we're not going to do fill or kill. But we do need to choose keep. Although this bet is being placed before the kickoff, the offset bet needs to be taken in play. So if we don't have keep in there, that offset bet will be cancelled at kickoff. Now the conditions, we could have put these conditions in here, but since we're going to have 4 versions of this bet, there's no point in checking those conditions 4 separate times. So instead, all we need to do is choose, sorry, didn't mean to pick that one. All we need to do is choose rule number of executions, and the rule that we need to check is the check global conditions and switch to market rule, and that needs to be equal to 1. In other words, that rule has fired. If it hasn't fired, this particular rule will not be implemented. Okay, choose OK for that. And that is our first bet, valued at £25. And you can see in here, that's the current odds at 2.28. And it will place another bet at £25 at 1.94. What we need to do here is essentially copy this another 3 times. So with it highlighted, you can just do Control-C to copy, and then Control-V 3 times to pop those in. And now all we need to do is go in to edit these, give them a proper name, so this should be second. It will still kick in at the same time. The action is going to be exactly the same, except the ticks will be 40. Everything else remains the same. Similarly, the next one, we just need to change the text of this rule name. That will be the third. And once again, we need to change the offset. So in this case, it's going to be 60. Keep in mind that these 4 bits that we've created or about to create, they're all going in placed at the same point at 2.28 in this particular example. And then finally, we just need to edit the last one. And again, put in a sensible title for that. So that's going to be the 4th. And again, it's all exactly the same except our offset, which will be 80 ticks. So here we see the odds based on the current odds at the moment. So we'll have 4 bets going in of £25 each, giving a total bet of 100, all going in at 2.28. And then we have the different offsets at 1.94, 174, 154, and 134. And that is essentially the strategy in a nutshell. However, we need to decide how we're going to trade out. So the first thing to do is, in that time, while we're waiting, if there is a goal, we want to get out for a loss. So we need to monitor the number of goals. So we need to add in another rule. Check for first goal. That needs to start it in play. The action is going to be, in fact, actually, we can just go straight to greening up if there's one goal. Let me think, hang on a minute. No, the market will be suspended, and the suspend sign might take a wee while. And then once it's unsuspended, again, it might take a good minute or 2 for the market to settle down again. So what we need to do, yes, this is effectively just a dummy action. This is just going to check for the number of goals. Market football, number of goals. And we just simply need to check for the first goal going in, equal to 1. Okay, so what that is going to do is just going to monitor the market from the start of play and check to see how many goals there are. And if a goal is scored, this will automatically be set up as having executed once. And that's for something that we can then check for. Now, you could theoretically use that condition in a different rule that will do the green up process. But the problem with that is that when that first goal is registered, the market may still be suspended. And the possibility exists for another goal to go in whilst it's still suspended, and as a result, the green up process may not work correctly. So by checking for a goal having been scored, it gives us the time to settle, or time for the market to settle, to allow us to green up properly. There still exists the possibility of a second goal being scored in the meantime. That's actually something that's very difficult to avoid in any case. Okay, so what we need to do here is green up for a loss, probably. We may actually have to put another condition in there, in actual fact, that checks to see if any of these lays have been taken, or if any of these lays still exist. I'll have a wee think about that while I'm doing this. Okay. The new rule, this is going to be green up after a goal. So again, this is going to be relative to in play, so this needs to be running at kickoff. The action is going to be green up all selections, although we've only got one selection that's actually being used. So you could use this green up selection. And since we're concentrating on the under 2.5 goals, that's fine, we can do it that way. Use the available price, cancel any unmatched or pending bets, that's fine. We don't need bet positions since we are in play anyway. And the conditions we need to check is, has there been a goal? And that has to be equal to 1. Now, if there hasn't been any goals, and all of these 4 lays get matched, we then need to green up. So we need to add in another rule, which will green up once all offset lays have been matched. So again, this needs to be set to relative in play. The action is going to be green up selection again, by name, under 2.5, all those settings are fine. Now the conditions, what we need to do is to check for the selection bet count. Now the selection bet count will be by name, under 2.5 goals, the selection number of bets. We only want this green up rule to fire if all the 4 offset lays are taken. In other words, there shouldn't be any further lays in the market. So the selection number of bets is equal to 0. 0 lays that are, actually it's better to do it the other way around, make sure that they're actually taken. So that should be equal to 4. And they're fully matched. That's the better way to do it. You can do it the opposite way around by counting all those ones to see if there's any that are unmatched. You can do it that sort of way as well, depending on what you're trying to do. This is the way to do it here. Check that there's 4 fully matched lays, and then we can green up. I don't think there's any other rule that we require there. That's all good to go. And let's just check the Strategy once more. So if after 5 minutes match time and all 4 lays unmatched, then green up all. It's highly unlikely that all 4 of those lays will get matched within 5 minutes. Indeed, with a 20 tick drop, it's unlikely that the first one will get matched in 5 minutes, I would suggest. So we've covered the 4 bets and the 4 offsets. We've covered if a goal goes in. Check every minute. Well, that's effectively what we've done already. If after 5 minutes match time and all 4 lays unmatched, then green up. All 4 lays unmatched, sorry. I'll create a rule that does that, but I don't think it will be of any use. So you might want to, if you're following along, you might want to actually disable this rule. The other thing to do as an additional check, the green up after a goal, you might want that to happen, but only if this one here hasn't fired. So let's just actually change that so that the green up once all offset lays have been matched. That's still equal to 0. Okay, so the green up after a goal will fire as long as this green up, the green up once all offset lays have been matched, hasn't fired. So that adds that one in. So it's just this 5 minute one. If after 5 minutes match time and all 4 lays are unmatched, green up, right, okay. I'm not convinced this rule would actually be of any benefit, but we'll put it in anyway. Green up after 5 mins if no lays matched. Okay, so again, this is going to be after the start of the match. The action is going to be green up selection. Again, we'll just do by name and choose under 2.5 goals. All those are the same. Conditions. What we need to do is to check, actually, sorry, now that I remember, that should be 5 minutes after the event turns in play. Conditions will be selection bet count. The selection will be by name, under 2.5 goals. And what we want here is the selection that's all 4 lays unmatched. Okay, so that needs to be equal to 4 lays only unmatched. Then green up. Right, I think that's it. That covers all the requirements as laid down by Sports Price Analysis. As I say, I'm not convinced that this rule is going to be of any benefit, simply because it will tend to trigger every time. Because I'm very doubtful if that first lay with an offset of 20 ticks will be matched within the first 5 minutes. But then I'm not an experienced football trader, so I may be talking where the sun don't shine. But that's essentially it as far as I can see as a first stab. So let's Let me just quickly run over that. So the green up after a goal, it's only going to kick in. It's going to be monitoring the market from the off, and it will only kick in if there is a goal and this green up process hasn't fired. So this rule here is responsible for checking to see if there's a goal. Sorry, that one there is responsible for checking to see if there's a goal. Because of suspensions and 2 quick goals, you don't actually get a gap between the suspensions. I also need to put in, I need to put a delay in here as well, because that will go to 1 as soon as a goal is registered, but the market may still be suspended, so this green up option will not fire. So I need to change that and put in a delay. Conditions, and we should have, where are we? Market unsuspended time. We choose that, and we need to check that the market has been unsuspended for a certain amount of time. 30 seconds might not be enough, and you might want to fiddle with this, but let's just change that to 1 minute. I suspect it really needs to be 2. So what this is doing is it'll check for a goal having been scored, so that'll be true. The other rule hasn't fired, so that'll be true. And then once the market is suspended because of that goal going in, this rule will essentially wait until that market becomes unsuspended and remains unsuspended for 2 minutes. Then it will fire and green up. Yeah, I think that might be it. The green up all offset once all of them have been taken, so we don't need to monitor whether a goal has been scored for those because that's covered by this rule. And this rule, as I say, I have a question mark over that being any use. Right, let's just save that. I can just get rid of this window. Close that down. We've got the Tottenham match about to start in 8 minutes, so we can assign that. Where was it? Demo. What was it? Demo under 22.5, wasn't it? That's it. If we go to the watch list, let's have that start 1 minute before start time, and then it can stop when closed. And we're in simulation mode, as you can guess. Okay, and we've got what, 8 minutes to go before the start of this, so I'll just jump ahead when the time comes. Okay, 20 seconds to go. You'll see that the Fairbot has opened up the match market. And that's to check the market volume in the match odds market, I should say. And you'll see that in the background there that the bets have just gone in. Let me just shut that down, switch to my bets. So you'll see there the total stake of 100. If I remove average odds, there's our 4 bets gone in at 2.22, the current under 2.5 market. And you'll see our corresponding offset bets sitting there. Okay, now I don't want to hang around for hours waiting for something to happen on this, because this video is already about half an hour long. And the whole aim of the video, of course, was to let you see just how to set that up. But we'll hang around for the first 5 minutes or so to see that last rule kick in, assuming that there's no goals. So let's just see what happens. But in the meantime, let me just flag one other thing up to you. Now I've actually got that set to descending. Let's set that to ascending. That's the default order in which the selections within this market are always listed within Betfair. It's always under 2.5 goals first. Now, this strategy is fairly generic. You can use it on any under-over market. And I would argue that it may actually be better to do this on the under 3.5 goals market, or potentially the 4.5. The reason being is the decay in the odds will be sharper, it will be steeper. So that may be better. However, the strategy won't work just now as it is, because bring this up. We're specifically calling the under 2.5. So if you were to assign this automation to the under over 3.5 market, for example, it will not work. So what to do instead is to modify these 4 rules so that instead of specifically naming them using the by name selection, choose Betfair rule, and because the under is always listed first in the corresponding under-overs market, you can just choose Betfair row number 1 and have that in a sort of order of ascending. So that always makes sure that it's the under X number of goals. And if you make that change to these 4 rules, you could then apply this rule, or this strategy I should say, to any under-overs market within football. So that's just a little tip, but for the purposes of this exercise we shall leave it as it is. We'll come out there. Now that last rule that I was questioning, you'll see that we still don't have any of our initial lays matched. It's got to get down to 1.91 for the first one, so that should be happening fairly soon in actual fact. So that, I take it all back. This one, oh no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong odds, beg your pardon. Yeah, this isn't anywhere near 1.91 yet. But we're sitting at a profit, a potential profit of 6%. So that rule that I was questioning is still potentially going to give you a profit whilst there's no goal. And when that hits 5 minutes, we should get a green up. Now, if that's always going to be the case, I'm questioning whether it's worthwhile actually having to have these offset bets in the first place. Okay, as the price decays still further, this is going to increase, assuming there's no goal. And we're coming up to the 5 minute mark shortly. So we may realise something like an 8% profit, give or take. If we switch back to here, so it's going to be this one that fires. Let me just pull this out a little bit so we can see more of the definitions. Okay, so green up after 5 minutes, which is this bottom one here. That's going to kick in at 5 minutes. It's going to check to see how many lay bets are unmatched, which is still currently 4, and it still will be. So I think this is going to green up. So that will change to executed 1/1 in the next couple of seconds. That's it going in there. Okay. So you'll see all the lays have been cancelled as part of that green up process. And there is our matched bets. So all nicely greened up for a 9%, nearly 10% profit after 5 minutes. So in all likelihood, assuming there's never any goal, I don't think those lays that are being put in with 20 tick offsets, those back to lay trades, those offset lays, I don't think will ever be matched before this rule kicks in. In which case, if you want to keep that as 5 minutes and green up, there's no point in having 4 of these bets, 4 back delay bets split up in £25 backs. You might as well just have one bet, one straightforward bet of £100, rather than putting these in. Because we're still at odds of 2, and our first lay was 1.91, was it not? So of course it's deleted now. It was 1.91. So we've still got a way to go before that very first lay was hit. So I would question this rule here. It's fine if you want to have that rule and green up after 5 minutes. That's fine. There's no problem with that. But if you do, there's no point in having these 4 bets, those 4 back delay trades. You might as well just have the one bet at £100 and just a straightforward bet and get this rule at the bottom to green you up, or this rule here, or these 2 rules to green up if there's a goal. In addition, if you remember, I think the very lowest lay bet was in the order of 1.3435, round about there. That's going to be well into the second half, I would think, before that's matched. So one might consider changing the amount of offset there from 20 down to possibly 10 at the most, I would suggest. Anyway, that video is implementing that automation based on the strategy as laid out by Sports Price Analysis, but it also gives you the opportunity of seeing how my thought process works as I'm essentially building it up and following these instructions. So that was quite a useful exercise, and that may be something that I shall repeat at a later date. I know there's another strategy that was suggested which I may have a look at, although I do have big questions over that one, but more of that nearer the time. In the meantime, I think we'll just leave it there, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.